Plus brand page. And so you'll have a user flow, a sign-in flow that will allow you to say, here's who I'd like to designate as someone who can manage the account. You'll be able to bring brand logos and assets and technology and videos and photos into the platform, and then begin to have consumers circle your brand and receive information. So that's coming very soon.
I understand that from a business standpoint, you guys work with Ford, or you allowed Ford to have access or early adoption of the platform. What did they do with it, and why did you single out Ford?
Yeah, so we had a couple of advertisers early on when we first launched the consumer platform that dove in head first and said, I'm going to begin testing as a brand partner. Ford was one of those, and Ford began to give us some use cases in the brand space that allowed us to learn a heck of a lot about how consumers in the platform want to interact with brands. So while we couldn't open up the floodgates, what we did want to do is work with a couple of pilot partners who would give us some interesting learnings. The important thing to note there is that all of that data and those experiences that they're creating will be lost to a certain extent as we move to brand pages this fall. So our message to brands has been, unless you really have your ducks in a row, wait for us to get the right product to you, because these guys and many others are facing limitations of having a personal account. What we hope to do is when we launch brand pages is give you the tools you need as marketers. So hopefully a different set of tools.
For the even playing field and helping small businesses. And it would seem that this whole brand concept and Plus One opens up this giant company getting counted and having a larger voice than some small upstarts that might have disruptive products or services to offer. I'm kind of curious about what you guys are planning to normalize that and communicate that. And then the second question I have for you is, you say your title is sales. What are you selling exactly?
Yeah, good question. So the first question around small businesses and brands and how we can allow them to play on an equal playing field is that we're beginning to think about the normalization of things, of new social signals across Google as well. The Plus One button is one example of a social signal. So when we begin to think about how we surface content around small businesses or large businesses, we're doing so in many facets. So the Plus One button is just becoming just one of many social signals out of an algorithm of over 200 signals as we begin to think about what is the right result for a user to see when they search. So Google for many years has never included people in that algorithm, which I think is crazy, and I'm glad that we're going in that direction. I think the question is how much is too much and how do you find that right balance? We're taking a very conservative approach as we begin to think about how social signals will impact the auction and ranking. And the piece for small businesses is that the sheer volume or the nominal figure of Plus Ones will not be the only deciding factor as to where people stack up. So small businesses should have the equal playing field to have their content shared. The other question is, as sales lead, what the heck does that mean for Plus so far? The sales opportunities so far, or the brand opportunities,
priority over all the other things on the Google search engine, like over Facebook and YouTube and websites.
How do you mean priority?
When people search, like let's say they're going to search Walgreens.com, all their Google Plus stuff will be before like their Facebook page and their YouTube videos.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that we've spent a lot of time thinking about how social content gets surfaced in the Google Plus search world as you see it today. I assume that we would take the same approach that we do to all of the content that gets surfaced, which is to have an algorithm that optimizes for the best user experience. But I'm not quite sure exactly how we're going to handle that. I do not have specifics on the timeline for apps users, but suffice it to say that we're thinking long and hard about making sure that we offer the platform, Google Plus, for all of our users. So we're working on that strategy, and I think the delay is just in the instance that we have to start somewhere.
You envision, or if Google Plus has a plan to show the data that comes from different circle segmentation. So when we get brand pages, I'm assuming that Google Analytics, Google AdWords will be combined into that platform, but I'm wondering if there's a way through those analytics to see, hey, this circle, this particular consumer in this circle is going to this page this many times, and kind of being able to curate better and push out better content that way.
Yeah, great question. The question around analytics and what will be available this fall and going forward. I think, so at launch, we do not have necessarily a robust analytics platform. You will have a tool within Google Plus as a brand to be able to look at some of the basic engagement metrics that you could come to expect. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to consider a cut of those data over time to be one around circles and who these people mean to you and your brand versus another set of people. If it were up to me, I'd love to see someday us to help you as marketers determine who are your most powerful brand advocates and begin to think of, clout-like measures that help you determine, hey, these are the folks I need to talk to a little more regularly, or perhaps these are the people who are disengaged with my brand that I might want to get re-engaged. All of those things we're considering. I would say on the analytics front, you have not given Google Analytics a fair look in the last 12 months. This fall, you may want to take another look, because we have an incredible roadmap from a social perspective of getting all of these rich social analytics into Google Analytics so that we can begin to track this stuff, not just around Google Plus and YouTube and our properties, but for you at large across the web. Yeah.
Touched on this, but obviously the power of combining the social graph with influence is huge. But ultimately, the holy grail would be to tie it back to transactions. How far out do you think we are from something like that?
Yeah, I think we share in that thought, which is it's one thing to track sentiment and you can do a lot of different sentiment analysis and segment using some tools today. I think to the extent that we can help you as marketers understand who these people are, how they affect your brands, and then furthermore, to your point, how they begin to transact and actually become customers and maybe even circle the life cycle there and start over. Those are all things that we would love to deliver to you in platforms like Google Analytics. So as we begin to think about getting social features into GA, Google Analytics, you'll have the ability then to begin to make those links to the extent that you are using Google Analytics the way most are today, by putting conversion events in place, by doing some advanced segmentation that lets you understand who's coming in the front door and maybe how and why they're leaving, things of that nature. So I would say short answer is I don't think we're too far off, to be honest. And I think that's when things hopefully get really exciting in the social
button
space.
influences content outside of your social graph. So meaning search results or display as a particular.
Yeah, so we're considering a lot of these signals, right? So we think the +1 button is one of many signals, of course, which we mentioned. I think there's also maybe something to be said for the amount of people, or the index-based amount of people, the index of people who have chosen to endorse a particular brand or product or piece of content outside of your social graph. So we're just beginning to experiment with all those things in the hopes that we can deliver exactly what that user wants when they search for a related piece of content. So to give you an example, if people outside of my graph have shared a particular article or +1 did quite a bit, it may be a vote of confidence that says, hey, people generally like this. We just haven't been able to figure it out, and it's a constant kind of evolution when it comes to kind of surfacing the right result for you.
Your approach to privacy and permission, I think especially as you talk about connecting all of the data across these multiple platforms, how are you making consumers aware of that?
Yeah.
How are you making consumers aware that brands may use their information, or if you're about to give them permission
Sure.
to use demographics or whatever they're reporting
Absolutely.
to optimize marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, we want to bring privacy to the very forefront of all the things we're doing in social. You saw a couple of features in Google Plus that have helped us do that. When it comes to the +1 button, we recently pushed back some of our display efforts to do just what you're talking about, which is we said, you know what? It was clear, but we're going to make it even more clear to users when they first engage with the +1 button that they're taking public actions, that Google is going to use this data to hopefully make the web a better place for them, to surface ads and content that they might be more interested in. We want to be 100% transparent with users. And again, like we continue to say, we're convinced we can make the web a better place if users entrust us with data. If they don't, that's okay too. And we'll hopefully take a different tack if that becomes the case. But by and large, what we've seen is that consumers are at kind of a tipping point, or they've reached this threshold. And I think other social platforms like Facebook have helped this along, where they say, you know what, I'm happy to be my real identity online because I get so many more powerful tools things like social networking, hopefully more relevant content when you come to Google and so forth. So hopefully that's the direction we want to head, is to make sure that we're very upfront.
About button on a brand's page, or perhaps some kind of Google Checkout affiliate program on a user's personal page?
That's a great idea. I have not heard that question. So now let me go back and try and talk to the checkout team and see if they have plans. But I think, perhaps down the road, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to begin to think of some of these commerce type functions that could happen in a social platform like this. So let me try and get back to you on that.
That's where I would love you more than Facebook. If that were, if it were, and her question led to that, if it were that easy to be able to put that checkout button on a brand page, or even a person who maybe sells a service to right there, hit checkout, boom, there's your transaction. Who cares about sentiment? You know what's happening.
Yeah.
That would be so excellent to be able to have that.
Cool. So we have begun to think about that, and I think that's a really interesting point. Is if you have a brand identity in Google Plus over time, let's look 6 months out. Perhaps there should be an easy way to do a hangout, a multi-user video chat, maybe even spark up some content related to that brand right from within the platform, the business page platform. So I think stay tuned for more. I think that's great feedback.